always bring him up. This following example. This Oxford is in the county called Oxfordshire, am I right? Right. Imagine that a group of people, say Jews, right? A group of people would move into Oxfordshire and say, we're going to set up a state of our own here, irrespective of the local populace, and it's going to be just for us, we're going to be in charge. I think you can imagine the objection that the local population would have against that. And imagine that the United Nations in their wisdom would decide that, you know what we're going to do? We're going to partition Oxfordshire. And we'll give half of it to the newcomers and half of it to the old. I don't have to describe the nonsensity of that. And that is exactly what was the value of the United Nations recommendation that there should be partition in Palestine. There was bound to be problems, right? And it doesn't have any moral, and I believe that there are books on international law which says it doesn't have any legal validity whatsoever. It is claimed that the state of Israel is a democratic state. It is patently undemocratic. It's democratic for some Jews, not for all Jews. Because we have, for instance, people who oppose the state who live in Palestine, and they are treated very harshly. If they try and publicize their views too much, they are, and oppose the activities of the state, they are treated harshly. But generally speaking, it's democratic for Jewish people, but it's not democratic even for the Israeli Arabs, never mind for the occupied territories. You will, as I mentioned to one Palestinian recently, I said, what are your feelings about the possibility? He was trying to say it's not so bad. I said, what are your feelings about the possibility of there ever being a Palestinian prime minister of the state of Israel? Of course, the other possibility is nil. And I said, what are your feelings about the question of the right of return for Palestinians to their homes? And again, the possibility is nil, because if the right of return is given to the Palestinians, that will change the demographic pattern within the state, and the state of Israel will disappear. And from that point of view, it's very puzzling how you have such support for the state of Israel by such countries as the United States and the UK and the UN. It's one of the puzzles of the political scene in the 20th century. I'm going on a bit too long, maybe. I'm coming to the end. There's no doubt about it that the Zionist state, the concept of a state just for Jews, is the underlying cause of strife in the Middle East. You know, in the recent conflict, for instance, there are charges and accusations. Who started? The Hamas shouldn't have shot rockets. The Israelis shouldn't put them under siege in Gaza and so on. I'm not going into that. Charges and accusations as to which side is to blame in the conflict are irrelevant. We don't condone violence. Nobody wants violence at all. But if you want to stop violence, you have to go back to the root cause. And the majority of international observers, even those who criticize Israel, don't go back to the root cause. There's no doubt about it that the very existence of the illegitimate, I call it illegitimate, Zionist state is the underlying cause of strife in the Middle East. And there will be no peace unless and until this cause disappears. It cannot last. I don't know how long it will take to disappear because it's based on falsehood. It cannot last. But you know, we've seen in our lifetime other regimes which have come to end peacefully. When I was a young man, the South African apartheid regime was considered that it would rock solid, it wouldn't come to an end without a bloodbath. But it did. Thankfully. Who would have thought that the mighty edifice of the Soviet Union would fizzle out almost overnight? But it did. So we have an Almighty who runs the world, and things change. People say that you can't now reverse the facts on the ground, the state exists. Why can't you reverse the facts on the ground? If it is unjust, then it has to be reversed. It was reversed in South Africa, it was reversed in the Soviet Union. Why can't it be reversed here? And our prayer is for a speedy, total and peaceful dismantling of the concept of the Zionist state, to be replaced by a just regime entirely according to the aspirations of the Palestinian people, in which Arab and Jew will be able to live together peacefully as they had done for hundreds of years. And you know, historically, when there was terrible persecution of Jews in Europe, very frequently the place of refuge was in Muslim lands and Arab lands. And that is our prayer. And following on that, and we hope it will come speedily in our days, may we then merit the time when the glory of the Almighty will be revealed over the whole universe, and there will be peace among the whole of mankind.